Footy Interchange Exchange. This is where we answer your questions and get the listeners' feedback and throw them to Schoey and myself, exclusive to those of you through Patreon as well. So it's great to have your company with us here as the breakout edition, the extra bonus content for you from the Footy Interchange. Schoey is with me, and I'm going to hit you up with some of those questions now.
I like it.
Reedy32 says on X, with Chad Warner being free in 2 years now, are there any other younger players the Eagles could target at season's end?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, because, what that does do is free up. Look, it looks like Harley Reid's he's not going to leave this year. So it's not, it's not like if they don't spend the money, they're not going to use it. Like, they're going to use that salary cap somewhere.
Because you have to.
You have to. So, it makes it hard with the whole, WA players versus, interstate players. Can you lure someone that's not from here? Like, I think of guys like Jack Redden, being one of those guys, a South Australian who played in Queensland that came here. Can you get an interstate player out of, Victoria? Or I think that's tough. So you really...
What do they need, though? Like,
good players.
Without actually saying specifically, I guess, the younger players, we might need a little bit more time to go over that. But what is their number one priority? Is it an inside mid?
No.
It a
key position?
Another key back?
I think, regardless of position, a highly skilled player.
Yeah.
Like their number one deficit is fundamentals and skills. You need to go and get someone who can kick the ball like Ryan Marrick. He's probably the only good kick in the team right now, like properly good kick.
Yeah.
You need to go and get a good kick, good skills, play him back, mid, forward, wherever you need to, but someone who's going to get the ball 15 or 20 times that's an elite kick.
All right, have a think about that, and we'll try and come up with a couple of names as well. Goss, I don't think this is Tim Gossage, a different Goss
Tim.
On X says, only 7 games in, but clearly West Coast look like finishing 17th at absolute best. Who on the list is on the chopping block come season's end, and who other than Allen is potential trade bait? Early days, but surely a few blokes playing for their careers in the next 15 weeks.
I really hate these sorts of questions.
It's very early in the year.
Yeah, but as I say, I'll answer everything. Like I hate them because you're talking about people's livelihoods as well, and some of those are my friends. But like if you're talking about trade bait, you start thinking about interstate players. So Liam Duggan is a Victorian.
Yep.
Captain of the club though, so I think that's difficult to go on and do that. Senior players like McGovern, no. Kelly, I just doubt it. Elliot Yeo, no one would touch that now.
A couple of names he's put in. Dom Sheed, obviously, with injury.
He's just, no one's going to take a fly on him,
No.
I don't think.
Noah Long.
Too young to be of value to anyone.
Jamison, Petruccelli, Chesser, and also Cole.
I mean,
throwing up.
Petch is Victorian, so potentially in a good side, Petch may work. Cal Jamison hasn't done enough to be of any value. Chesser in the same vein, high draft pick but highly injured, and I don't know if he's fully recovered. And Tom Cole, again, Victorian element is the one that works there. He was dropped 2 weeks ago, so dropped from West Coast, I would say, is probably about as low as you can get right now. Would have some sort of value, but none of these guys are getting you first rounders, which is what you need. So Harley Reid is the one that there. Oscar Allen is the second there, and then it's probably not much after that.
Next question comes through from Reading the Game. Says, hypothetical for Schoey. If Waverley Park is supposedly being sold when the Hawks move, should West Coast and Freo buy it together for the 20 mil and get themselves their own base in Melbourne?
Their own home ground in Melbourne?
Yeah, their own training base, facility.
I will say that they, not with Freo, but West Coast are developing, I don't think this is hypothetical, are developing a base down south. So, Busso, Dunsborough, Margs.
In WA?
Yeah. So that's been on the cards for quite some time.
Reason?
Training facility to develop players down there,
like next gen academy stuff.
as well as I think it'd be Busso sort of area, as well as off-site training facility for West Coast.
Right.
For what reason I don't know, but it's basically a high performance area. Given the airport now in Busselton, I think trying to combine everything of the Southwest WA, inclusive of the fact that West Coast can use in the off season, I think they're developing that. I think that's happening. Okay. Unless Pikey's put a pin in it.
Quite understand the
hey, mate, I don't make the rules.
For the AFL team in that.
You should be getting around it.
In terms of the development stuff for the next generation players, that makes sense.
I think it's more of like a community-based hub that would be high performance.
Yep. But what about one in Melbourne? Is there a need for that, to have a place that you go to every time you go and play a game there?
I mean, there was chat about the interstate teams being dodged by the MCG and Marvel because you never get to train in them ever. Yep. Oh, look, mate, like that's not the reason that West Coast or Freo can't perform, because they have without it. It's the travel. So unless you can put together a 1 hour train line that takes you across Australia, I'd be putting money into that. But I don't think a Melbourne training base.
Would you feel more comfortable going to the same place every time as opposed to like going to?
I mean, you do.
They go to schools and all
I
sorts
used to go to
venues.
Wesley. It was fine. You're doing a captain's run. You're not training there. Maybe the AFL could put something together, but I don't think West Coast and Freo.
I think that would be the way it would work because I don't think you'd get enough use for just the WA teams.
No.
Given some years you might not be fixtured for that many games in Melbourne away if you're having to go to Queensland.
Interstate hub for all interstate sides
to be able to use that. That might have some merit. Reese from Forest Beach says Freo do such a good job with the Len Hall game. Should this be a permanent fixture on Anzac Day itself?
I've butchered this from pillar to post because I didn't know that Melbourne Richmond were like always locked in at Eve, and then I kind of, because it was on a Friday, I kind of forgot that. Look, I haven't got my verbiage around to this. All I'll say is Freo did a brilliant job on Friday, and they've done it with respect. They give the people there a great experience. They give the respect it's needed, and I think it should be permanent. But the dates and when and how, I'll defer to you.
Lock it in. Okay, Anzac Day each and every year.
Thank you, Eddie.
Fremantle should have a home game with the Len Hall tribute game. It's been going for 28 years.
On Anzac Day all the time.
Anzac Day all the time.
It's been happening for 28 years.
No, it hasn't on Anzac Day.
Right.
It's been happening as the Len Hall tribute, and sometimes they have to play it. They've had to play it like a week later because they haven't had a home game in that Anzac ground.
So lock it in.
Lock it in on Anzac Day.
Anzac Day falls on a Tuesday. Happy for a Tuesday night game?
Well, the Friday just gone, it was a 6:10 start in the West. You don't have to do that. There was a 2 and a bit hour gap between games. Anzac Day finishes, let's work in Western Standard Time to start with, so it fits in a bounce time here. So Anzac Day, the Collingwood Essendon game finishes at 4 o'clock in the West. Play it at 4:30, 4:40.
What's wrong with the 6:10?
Well, if you're worried about...
You're so West Australian.
No, your issue was that people won't go to it if it starts too late.
It
doesn't need to start late. You can you do it at 4:40 here, which is 6:40 over East.
My issue was a midweeker on a Tuesday night leading into a day at work. Not too late. Not too late.
What do you mean not too late?
As in, it's nothing to do with the time it starts. It's the fact that it's like, people going to the footy, go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, but if it's 4:30 game, you finished by 7:30.
Yep.
You're out the door as opposed to 9:30.
I'm not worried about the kids. I'm worried about getting on the beers, to be honest.
Just lock it in, Schoey.
Okay.
It needs to happen. Two games on Anzac Day, and Freo have done enough to earn that right, I think, to have it there.
I agree.
So just get it done. Smithy and Atwell says, holding the ball, do we get rid of the attempted part of it? If you don't kick or handball, it should just be holding the ball?
I mean, the holding the ball rule does my head in, like on a daily basis.
Yep.
Carl Langdon's been going on about this for years. I don't really have a strong stance on the holding the ball rule because whatever you do, like there's going to be grey in it because of the way it's sort of adjudicated and the way it happens. Carl's idea is it happens in junior footy, like in proper Auskick. Once you lose your feet, you can't take possession of the footy, and it'll stop people from losing their feet, and it'll clear up a lot of the reportable offences as well as grey areas around taking the legs, and I think that would be a rule change I'd get behind. And there's no real reason to lose your feet and to be diving in after stuff. Like, to be honest, players that do that really piss me off. It's just like diving around and they get patted on the back. They're desperate, and you can be desperate from your feet. Keep your feet, pick the ball up, continue on.
So you could still dive it and knock it along, but you just can't grab it.
Yes. Look, the diving and knocking stuff, like, what are you doing? Just pick it up.
Yeah, it could be important. Like,
just pick it up.
Important knock to your
Wayne
teammate
Arms.
ahead.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you can't get rid of that in the game. It'll come for you, Schoey. The holding the ball rule, I think you could easily make it simpler by doing just that and eliminating the attempted part. And I heard Ray Chamberlain talking about how it's been in the game forever. If you make it a genuine attempt, then it's play on. I just think it's gotten to the point now where it's so frustrating for footy fans that players look like they're making an attempt, but they just drop or throw the footy out, and it's allowed to play on. Just if there's no prior and it's held in, then ball it up. If there is prior and they are tackled, then it's holding the ball. And if you're tackled with no prior and you don't handball it, or you try to get rid of it and you don't handball it correctly or kick it, then hold the ball.
Okay.
Very simple.
Okay.
Or it should be. Another one, along those lines, Luke in Redcliffe says, should we make it no tackling or standing tackles only like junior footy
No.
after the Paul Curtis issue on the weekend?
No.
If you're going to get suspensions like that.
Start banning action over outcome.
That's pretty definitive. Mitchell says, do I have to read the whole thing?
Yes.
Says, Pappy the Papalicious. Keeps trying to come up with a nickname. That's not
good.
It's certainly not going to work.
Let's go, Pappy.
I'd love to know what both of your thoughts are on the positives for the Eagles so far this year. We often hear the negatives, so it would be good to hear both of your thoughts on the green shoots that you are seeing.
Yep. Archer Reid looks better every time I see him play. Jack Williams I've always liked, so they're two key position players that don't grow on trees, and I think they just keep putting games into them. They're going to be good AFL players. I really like Ryan Marrick. I think he's the best kick in their side, and they just need to continue playing him. I like Brady Hoff's move into the midfield on the weekend, doing a job on John Newcomb. I think that's the evolution in his game that, I think about players I played with, Brad Shepherd, like Shep never made the move to the midfield. I think Brady probably has a couple of more attributes than Shep did, which is big given how good a career Shep had. So I liked him. I liked Liam Baker. I suppose his perceived leadership. Apparently he's driving good standards within the footy club. Liam Ryan, his fitness and his the way he's played, I think he's been outstanding. I think one of his better years.
A few positivities there, but not, which is hard to sort of pick out when they haven't been playing so well. Elijah Hewitt, if he can stay fit for the whole year, I think that's a massive positive.
JB Cripps, his ability to play his role continuously. People doubting him. I had a few coming at me, and he's just continued to play his role. He may do that till he's 40 years old.
Some of the positives there, Mitchell. Hopefully that works for you. And last one, Sam Wilson says, I'm British, so I didn't grow up with AFL. What I really don't get is why matches aren't scheduled so that fans can watch them in their entirety. 3 games last Sunday, every single one rolled into each other. Why not just start a bit earlier and end a bit later so they don't clash?
So what do you think on this? Because you're a bit of a fixturing guy, a bit of a schedule guy.
Yep. I think there's certainly been instances this year where they could have spread out the fixture a little bit more. The Sunday night game that they're trying to bring in allows that to happen a bit more, so we won't get that happening this Sunday. There'll be enough of a gap between Hawthorn and Richmond into Brisbane and the Gold Coast Suns.
Yes.
I think some overlaps on a Saturday in particular are inevitable with the amount of games they're trying to play there at the moment.
So this weekend it's Collingwood, Geelong, MCG, and West Coast, Melbourne, Optus at the same time.
At the exact same time, yep. So if you're going to play 4 games in a day, you're going to have to get an overlap somewhere. I think you could start that Eagles-Melbourne game a little bit later so that you could at least watch the second half of that one rather than being completely up against. I don't think they utilise the time zone in WA enough, particularly on those Saturday nights.
Yeah, but people in Western Australia sook it up if anything starts after 6 o'clock. Like the games in Melbourne start at 7:50.
Yes, true.
And people in Perth say, it's too late to start it at 6:30. What do you mean?
Yeah, but I think that's a change that could be made. Is knock it back an hour, and then at least you can watch the second half. Not sure how many people will be all that excited about West Coast and Melbourne that aren't followers of those two teams.
Should be great to call that. I'm
looking forward to it because I always love going to the footy. But I think the more footy we can watch standalone, the absolute better it is. And we've had more of that this year than any others because we've had more Thursday night games than any other time. The only way I think to get rid of overlaps completely would be to reduce game times. Right. So a game of football is 90 minutes plus the breaks plus the time added on. So fits into a 2-hour window. Game of footy is more like 2:30, 2:40 in terms of a game. So it stretches the day right out. I think if you reduce the quarter lengths down a little bit, like Patrick Dangerfield was suggesting, and you can get it closer back to around about a 2:10 game time.
No.
2 hours. I know
Don't
you're not
do that.
keen on that, but I'm just saying from a fixturing point of view, it would allow you to do that.
Oh, well, what are we giving up? The fabric of the game.
I'm just trying to come up with a solution for you. Scully, don't come at me. I'm just trying to find a solution for you. That's the only way you could do it. But yes, I agree. On like last weekend, with some of the games when they're a bit more spread out, especially over Easter or anything like that, you should never have overlapping games on those types of weekends.
No sport in the world does this. So it's like, so Sammy's from Britain.
Yeah.
Like the EPL, they're all at the same time.
On the last day they are.
Yeah, but
not every game every week.
Yeah, but there's 20 teams in the EPL, and there's no way that they play them all at separate times.
Yeah.
You watch every game.
Yeah.
They don't do that in EPL either.
Yeah, but there's more games there. I do understand what they're trying to say here in terms of...
There's only one more game.
You
There's
could-
18 teams in the AFL.
You could do it.
Okay.
You could do it a bit better than what
Trying to fire you up a bit.
they
mate.
have done with some... I tried to give you a solution.
Yeah,
you
that
shot me
last
down
solution.
straight away.
Yeah, no, solutions are garbage. Better, easier to whinge and
You got
carry
any other
on.
questions?
Um,
Anything else we haven't ticked off?
I mean, Fremantle doesn't really get a run with those questions. Like, Andrew Brayshaw's in Brownlow form.
Yep.
He's in very, very good form. I like that. Their midfield mix and their connection inside 50 just needs to continually improve. Like, they had the dominance on the weekend to kick 100, which they didn't. But they say they don't want to do that. So Hayden Young was proved correct with his 60 to 70 side. They basically did that.
Got it done.
Like 60 to 80.
Yeah, exactly.
So that they played the way they wanted to play, which is probably the first time this year.
Actually, the last question was around Fremantle. Luke Jackson should be fit this week
Yep.
to come back into the play.
Great.
What's your change? Does Oscar McDonald go out straight away?
Oscar's out. No offense to Oscar. But
Or, given they are playing away, do you put Luke Jackson back in, give Sean a rest after a couple of games back, and just go with that one more week with Oscar McDonald?
Tough to know how his body's holding up. Like, the infection isn't an overuse injury, so if he's over that and his knee's right, which he's come out and said publicly, I think you keep him rolling and you just play him less on ball and you give him a rest forward and he kicks goals. I can't wait to see the matchup. Finally, can't wait.
Brilliant stuff. Thanks, Scully.
Thank you, mate. That was fun.
The Footy Interchange Exchange exclusive to those on Patreon.